Hey YouTube, Alan back with another video, and this is going to be part 2 or of however many of my life in gaming videos. In part 1 I did the Master System, so essentially 1991 to 1995 with a little bit of kind of like a few bits that I collected after then. I ended up basically in the transition from the Master System to the Mega Drive. So at the end of 95 I picked up the Mega Drive Model 2. I actually got this from my friends. I got 2 controllers at the time. I can't remember the exact date. I know it was about £40, and I know the game that I got with it was, of all things, Jimmy White Whirlwind Snooker. And before I get onto the game system, people are often quite down on the Model 2, and I don't really know why, because unlike the Master System one, there really isn't too much in the way of cutbacks. I mean, you still have your AV out, you still have your Mega CD connection at the side. Yeah, it looks a bit funky if you don't connect it to the right version Mega CD. It's doesn't have that kind of weird kind of sticky outside shape that the Mega Drive 1 had. It's much more symmetrical, which I actually like. Although I do think the original Tower of Power looks better. One thing that's a bit weird on mine, and I've posted this on Twitter, no doubt by the time this goes up, the central piece of rubber or something has melted on mine, and I only noticed that when I went to make this video, so I have to go cleaning up because it left a residue on other systems. In fact, it left it on the SNES. It's like even 25 years later Sega and Nintendo are still at it, so I gotta go clean that up. Anyway, that's the Model 2. I always liked it. I didn't feel it was much of a cutback compared to the Model 1. At the time I got this game with it because that was the game that they had. I think they had sold other games, but this was the one that was left. It was interesting because my first game on the Mega Drive was a 3D game. Ooh, stepping into the future with the 16-bit era. I enjoyed this, but in some ways it was a novelty. Like, I nearly enjoyed the fact that it was 3D and that if you didn't play it for a while, like the balls would start making faces and stuff, like, you know, which I thought was funny. I also liked looking at the 147 demo. I'm not very good at this, but it was for a snooker game. It's pretty good. It was just, it got me going, really. That's how I would describe it. It got me going with the Mega Drive. Now, I don't know, I think I got this in early 1996, and this is the real game that I consider the start of my Mega Drive journey, and that's Sonic Compilation. And this is kind of telling in terms of, I was really late getting into the Mega Drive. I mean, I was sort of midlife almost, but still late getting into the Master System because I got a Master System Model 2. I got a Mega Drive Model 2, so kind of repeating that thing. And it kind of meant that the games were starting to get bundled. They were starting to get a bit cheaper, which was good because I wasn't used to spending £50 on a game. You know, I was spending £10 or £15 maybe on a game. So this was a good way to kind of kickstart my collection for the Mega Drive. Comes with Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machines. I think it probably cost about 25 or 30 time, but I was basically saying I'm getting 3 Sonic games. Unfortunately, my manual's seen a little wear and tear, but it's not too bad. And the clip broke. It broke straight away, like, I think, when I got the game. Obviously, like, this kind of addressed my original, what I wanted in 1991. Like, I wanted Sonic 1. I wanted to play Sonic 2. I played it several times at friends or at the Mega Zone kind of centre in Mullingar. But this was the first time I really got to dive into those games, and I loved them. I played them so much, and it was definitely like Jimmy White got it going, but this was a cracking compilation to really start my game collection. Now, in the summer of '96, then I was obviously on a major Sonic kick, and the next game I picked up was Sonic and Knuckles. So this one, like, was kind of like the newest Sonic game, I suppose, at the time, or I don't know if Sonic 3D passed out, but it was certainly the kind of newest mainline game, if you will. And ideally I would have wanted Sonic 3. You know, I played Sonic 1, Sonic 2, I played Master System, but I hadn't played Sonic 3. Ideally I want that, but I seen Sonic and Knuckles, so I wanted to get in and get that. Always a bit miffed that Sega did this on a cardboard, which means it's much harder to keep. I did put it in a plastic thing, even though it doesn't quite fit, to try and keep it in shape, because even as a kid, like, and I tried to keep it reasonable hair, like I tore the side of the camera, like, it's very hard to keep this in good condition. So as a game, it's good. It didn't blow me away compared to Sonic 1 and 2, but it really felt like part of a story that really needed Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 to work. I was a little disappointed that Sonic Compilation didn't work with it as Sonic 2. It worked with it as like any other game, and you didn't get the kind of Sonic 1 or Sonic 2 bonuses, which was a pity. Next up is actually a trio of games. Now, I got these all from a friend. Actually, but this might have been 20 or 25, by the way, I don't remember. And I got it down in Galway on a trip. The following three all came together. They were second hand. I bought them from a friend in school, and I think they worked out at about £7 or £8 each, that type of thing. So I'll start with the best one. This one has been played so much. Streets Rage 2. Funny thing about this one is the cartridge has got a big hole in it. I got it like that. Like, he basically flung it at a wall one day and whacked it about, like, he got frustrated. But it still plays. It always was played brilliantly. Even with the damage, this was totally worth £8 or whatever it was that I averaged out to. It is something that I played religiously back then, both solo and in two-player mode, and I still play today. It's definitely one of my top played, if not my top played Mega Drive game. I would probably say it is, because when I go and try an emulation machine and stuff like that, I kind of stick on Street Rage 2, even above the Sonic games. That's how much I like Street Rage 2. But of course, I had to have some Sonic in there, and Sonic Spinball, he had it up for sale, so I was like, yeah, I'll have Sonic Spinball. It has a little bit of the cartoon vibe, Saturday AM or whatever they call it. It's a bit different. The physics are a bit funny, but I actually enjoy it. I think it's a bit maligned as a game, but I don't know. I actually do think it's a good experience. It's fun. It's probably, if they'd refined the physics a little bit more, it would be better received. But I actually like the general concept of using Sonic and fusing it with pinball. I think it was a good idea, and of course it plays on the name Spinball. Now, the third game from that period was back to the kind of platform, action game, Taz and Escape from Mars. I'd seen the original Taz, I think, against Master, and thought, oh, that looked good. And when he had this one, I said, yeah, I'll try that out. It's the back of the box makes it seem more interesting, to be honest. I never really could get past Mars. I just don't know why this one was. This is one of those games that never clicked with me. Straight away when I played it, it wasn't. Yeah, I didn't feel it. I didn't like the graphics. I didn't like the setting. But I guess he must have thought so too, because he didn't fling this one against the wall. Yeah, it was a bit of a dud, I'll be honest. So that was the kind of trio I got at the same time. I probably got this game at the same time. It was a gift from my uncle. At the same time, I got the Sonic 1 Master System box I mentioned in my previous video. And it's Echo the Dolphin. Now, as a freebie, obviously you can't complain. As an actual game, Echo is okay. I wanted to like it. I liked the first level. I liked the sense of exploration. I liked the fact that it was something very different. I know it was in Sonic the Comic, and it was kind of being pushed in various magazines as being this different type of experience. But by God, it gets hard very fast. Like level 2, just the difficulty shoots up, and you're worrying about your health, you're worrying about your air, and I actually just found it a little too frustrating to be enjoyable. So even to this day, I'm not a fan of Echo. I just find it a frustrating, series of games. I can see why some people like it, and obviously I'm not going to complain when I get a freebie, but yeah, not for me. So that was a couple games in a row that were kind of like not really my bag. But this next one, which I got around Halloween, is totally one of my favorites, and it's Golden Axe. I got this for $7.99 in Video Box and rental store. They were selling off some games. I actually bought a gift for someone at the same time, F-Zero on the SNES for $7.99. It was like, yeah, they were selling off some really good games for good prices. So this one, because it had been rented, it didn't come with, like, the box was a bit more no manual. But again, like, I wasn't looking for pristine games or anything like that. I had a new system, a relatively new system. Being able to pick up games that I could afford on the, little bit of money that I'd saved, that's what mattered. And yes, this was by now like 6 years old, but it's still a great playing game. And again, 1 player, 2 player, played it to death. Still go back to this. This is a Halloween game for me for whatever reason. I think it's because I got it around then, but I love this game. I don't like the sequels quite as much. There's something about this one that just clicked with me and still does. And even the Master System version is actually a pretty good port, but Mega Drive version. That brought the arcade home like you wouldn't believe. Next up is a game that actually, while I have it, for a period of time I didn't. That's Megalomania. I think this was well reviewed in Mean Machines, and it looked different. And I seen it in a place called Apollo it was in Dublin. I think that's the store's gone now. It's just off Connell Street. No, it's just off Henry Street actually. Near the Ilac, for those that are wondering. This was, I think it was probably like £18 or £20 at the time. And it's kind of like it's an early strategy game. You don't see too many of those on the console. By Sensible Software, the good reputation. And I did like the idea. I kind of wasn't great at it. I was only able to get a few levels in. But I did like the idea. But the reason why I say I have it now and I didn't have it is because this was one of the 2 games I sold. So I was buying games. This is 1996. So the Mega Drive was on my main system. But by the end of 1997, that would change. And I would want an N64. I know, turning from the dark side to the light grey side. And Megalomania and another game I'll touch upon, I had to sell to fund it. But back in 1996, I was still enjoying it. And for Christmas in 1996, I got Road Rash 2. And rather strangely, in 1995, my Christmas game was Sonic 2 on the Master System. In 1997, I would be switching systems. So the Mega Drive actually only enjoyed 1 year where it was my primary system and I got something at Christmas, and it was Road Rash 2. But this was a great game. Myself, the family, friends, we played this in 2 players so much. It's quite hard, got that very Mega Drive twang sound going on. Strangely enough, quite enjoyed seeing how far we could run from the cops. You know, you get knocked off your bike and then just run. So you could run to the finish first, and it's so many hours doing that sort of stuff. Again, actually, I sold this one too, for the sake of it, but I bought it back. So I actually had the classics version too, and I bought back the classics version. So it was 2 of 3. I only just remembered it now, but yeah, I actually sold 3 games. It was 2 of the 3. They all came around the same time. The third game I'll get to in a bit, but I haven't bought that one back. Next up was a game I got early in January, and I got this from Apollo as well. This was 1997. Yep, Apollo Discount Superstore in Westmoreland Street. That's where it was. Actually, it crossed the two. They had Moore Street and Westmoreland Street. This was actually Moore Street. So this is the kind of cut price version of Micro Machines 2. So it didn't come with the J cart, which is a bummer. I would have liked to have gotten the J cart because again, this was one that we played a lot in multiplayer. And it does advertising on the back. Oh, you can share joypads, and you can have 3 or 4 players, or you could have up to 8 players. But of course, you need the 4-player adapter. You don't have the J cart in this one. Still, loved this game. Played it to death. Cleared it many times, and still go back to it from time to time. It was definitely it kind of nailed that kind of 16-bit kind of action party game vibe, and that's why I think a lot of the Codemasters games so popular. So I mentioned one that I sold and did not get back, and that is this game, Mega Bomberman. And you might think, well, I got it again, don't I? No, I do not. I have the box, and rather strangely, I have the receipt from when I bought it. I bought it in Argos on the 25th of the 6th, 1997 for $20.95, or £21. But when I sold it, I must have just sold the carton and manual for some strange reason, or they must have only wanted the carton manual. So this is one that I'm still on the lookout to replace. If I can get a carton manual to replace this one from the back into the collection. So bit of an oddity that I still have my original box, but not my original game. I kind of enjoyed this to a degree, but the 1-player game was ho-hum really. It was really the multiplayer experience. I know my sister was really annoyed that I sold this and Road Rash, so she was delighted when I bought Road Rash back. But yeah, definitely I think other people preferred that more than I did. So not too long after picking up Megalomania and later on selling it, I picked up Sonic 3. Now this was for me the missing link, because I had Sonic 1, I had Sonic 2, Sonic and Knuckles, and I'd been looking for this, but I just hadn't seen it anywhere in Ireland. So I seen this in electronic boutiques in Wales. It was £25. It was actually pre-owned, so it was kind of expensive in many ways. But I was like, Sonic 3, I have to have it. So I used my kind of holiday money and bought it, and I did enjoy it. But again, a bit like Sonic and Knuckles, it kind of felt like an incomplete story. Now, thankfully, I had Sonic and Knuckles at the time, put them together, and I was like, now this clicks. Now this is a big adventure. It feels like it was meant to be. On its own, it's still a good game, but you definitely feel like you want to put the two of them together to get the real experience. I don't know how I would have felt if I didn't have Sonic and Knuckles, to be honest, at the time. I was excited to get it. Some of the zones, though, like, I never really liked Marble Garden Zone, that type of thing, and even Carnival, which is kind of got a better team. Not too sure. Like, like as I said, it needs Sonic and Knuckles. So I did enjoy it. I did play it a decent amount, but it was something that if I had paid full price back in the day without Sonic and Knuckles, I think I might have been a little more disappointed. Might have had a Sonic 2 and a Master System situation on our hands. So, same time, or similar time, on the same basically trip in Wales, in Dixon's, I picked this up for £9, well, it would have been £9 sterling, I guess. Mega Games 1. Now, this, I was going, £9? 3 games? That's £3 a game. Like, how can you go wrong? Even if they weren't exactly the 3 I would have picked. I bought soccer games, I bought racing games, I bought puzzle games. Why would I not? And exactly. I thought it was a little odd that it came with what looked like photocopied manuals. And I figured, okay, well, this is how they're making it so cheap. And I know some versions come with more proper manuals than that. And yeah, like, I played a lot of these games for the price. Super Hang-On is a great port of a Super Scaler game, and I really like the original mode they've added. Columns, it's a solid puzzle game. Is it as good as Tetris? Not a chance. But I played a fair bit of it back in the day. And Italia 90, not the best football game for sure. But Ireland, is decent to think they are, and yeah, it kind of tided me over. I definitely like looking at that football game. At the back they call it Italia 90. So sometimes it's Sega Soccer, sometimes it's World Cup Italia 90, depending on when their license ran out, I suppose. It's not as good as Super Kickoff, but for the price, I wasn't going to complain. And again, like, I had started off with Sonic compilations, so I was able to pick up another compilation and pick up some stuff cheap. So I was actually building up, compared to the Master System, which had taken a number of years to get the collection built up that size. I've already gotten, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 cartridges and a few compilations. So I nearly had the same amount of games that I had on my Master System in like a year. So I was definitely picking up things at pace. And to close that summer out, right at the end of August, I picked up another compilation, another great compilation actually, Castle of Illusions and Quackshot in, what did they call this? Maybe they don't have a specific name for it. I thought it was like the Disney collection or something. Oh, it is the Disney collection. I expected Castle of Illusion to be my favorite game, to be honest, because people talk about that the most. And it is a good game, I really enjoyed it. But dare I say it, I actually think I prefer the Master System version a little more. Maybe straight away I probably did prefer Castle of Illusions, but when I played Quackshot, over time, back then, I actually started to prefer Quackshot. I felt that there was a little more depth to it. I liked being able to travel around the map, and you could go back and forth and you met different characters. So I kind of think Quackshot is secretly the better game. It wasn't that way in the magazines at the time. I know people were raving about Castle of Illusions, that Quackshot was a bit more 70s, 80s versus Quackshot's 90%. So yeah, anyway, try Quackshot if you haven't. It's a great game. And finally, we're on to the N64. That was kind of it in many ways. That was the last game that I would pick up before switching over. So that was the end of the summer, and I had expected to get a Mega Drive game for Christmas, and I had tried the N64 before and hadn't connected, but then I went at my friend's house and tried it there, and it blew my mind. And I was like, I have to get it. So I sold a few games and made some deals to get the N64 for Christmas, because it was kind of compared to, well, one, I had only the Mega Drive for a comparatively short while, bought it in 95, and we're coming into the Christmas in 97, because a lot of those last games were 97, if I did say that, and I'm looking to already change system. My parents were like, what, you just got the other one, type of thing. So I had to make a bit of a deal to get that. But anyway, beforehand I had been planning to get another Mega Drive game for Christmas. Road Rash was the previous year. Brian Lara Cricket was the game I was planning to get in Christmas of 1997. I don't know why. I think it was because it was Codemasters, and this one doesn't, but I think some of them came with a J card, and I think I had seen Tesco's were selling it relatively cheap, like for a tenner or something like that. So, and at that point, it was getting a little harder to see Mega Drive games. It was going the same way as the Master System had done. You know, it was a bit harder to spot them. I seen this and thought, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go with that. And I picked up sports games. I played sports games. It wasn't that much of a shock. But cricket, I never played cricket. So it was a case of like probably the last game in the store type of situation. Now, this wasn't something I was desperately looking for. And of course, when I seen the N64, I never got this back in the day. So this is actually a more recent thing. I think I got it for like £1 or less. It might have even been a freebie or something like that. I'd have to look at my notes. So that was not a game that happened back in the day. But there was one more Mega Drive game. So I transitioned over and my main system became the N64. But I picked up one more game, like the Master System when I switched to Mega Drive. In 1998, I picked up another Micro Machines game. Micro Machines 96. Hey, only 2 years out, 96, 98. This one is the J-card version, but sadly missing the manual. Now, it also has a password card, and I filled it in. I tried to create the Enterprise, USS Enterprise D, and filled in the password to create the Enterprise as the custom track builder. And that was the thing about this one. I seen it in a second-hand store down in Limerick when I was on holidays. I think it might have been about 10 or 15, I can't quite remember. And it had the J card. It had new tracks, it had track builder. I loved Micro Machines, so I was like, even though I had generally I was focusing on the N64, I was like, yeah, I'm going to pick this up, and I enjoyed it, but not as much as Micro Machines 2. And it wasn't just the time. I think the general tracks and vehicles that they had were better in Micro Machines 2 than the 96. Good game, but if you have to pick one, go with Micro Machines 2. Anyway, that's the Mega Drive. That's also the end of my Sega journey. I mean, I picked up plenty of stuff after the fact, but as the Sega system being my primary system, I thought I would go from Mega Drive to Saturn, but it didn't happen. So next time, I'll talk about how I ended up defecting to the dark side or light side. Anyway, until next time.